Hello everybody, I'm Sam15, the Dragon's here today. Welcome to Pokemon TCG Online. And today I'll have an interview with Jeremy Gibson, who made top 16 at United States Nationals with his Night March Glade list. And today I'm going to have a couple questions I asked for him. Unfortunately, he can't be here in person because he doesn't necessarily have the technology to do so. So we just did a text interview instead. He actually gave me some pretty lengthy answers, so we don't really even need to do... usually if they do a text interview, I just go straight into do a competitive match afterwards, part of competitive standard Friday. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go straight into. I'm just going to do the interview because he actually gave me lengthy responses, which I appreciate. Anyway, first question I asked him is, why did you choose this deck? He responded with, to prepare for nationals, I did a fair amount of testing, but nothing really stood out to me as the obvious play. Before seeing the Canadian national results, I really liked Metal, and Jeffrey Chang had more or less convinced me that Mega Ray would be a good play if there was no Night March around. This was actually kind of funny because Mega Ray ended up winning Canada in a field with no Night March. So Jeffrey was right, but now I was back to the drawing board because the Metal list I had been testing had a bad matchup against Mega Ray, and only a poor, decent Night March matchup, which I expected to see a drastic increase in play due to the excellent matchups it had in Canada top 8. And I actually also have to agree, as someone who played Metal at Nationals, Metal, it does have I would actually say more 50-50. It kind of depends on how well they can get their Hexados. I would actually say it favors them, so yeah. So at this point, I'm going back to what he was saying. So at this point, I really had no idea what to play, and I decided to make a Night March list as a backup in case I couldn't think of anything else. I tested a few versions, some just consistent, some with maxis, even with Octavia, etc. I honestly was never crazy about Night March, but I knew it would be a decent play at the worst. As Nationals grew closer, I narrowed it down to Night March and Meta-Chan Carbink, also suggested by Jeffrey Chang, and anything I could come up with the night before. Time ticked away and I did not get any closer to the decision. I did, however, rule out Meta-Chan Carbink because I never got around to buying the cards before the stores closed, so that simplified things. I also tested a few other decks like Raichu Bats, Raichu Vespiquen, and Night March Vespiquen, but nothing seemed to be able to beat my Night March Glade list, which I have been testing everything against due to my obvious paranoia about seeing a billion Night March in the tournament, which there was a lot of Night March in the tournament. So at the end of the day, I decided to go with Night March Glade list with just a few minor changes that kept me awake most of the night. Also, a lot of people were telling me that Night March was too predictable, but in my testing, its predictability did not weigh how good the deck was, and the deck seemed to beat everything even things that completely and the deck seemed to beat even things built completely to counter it, which is true. Even against Violet Plume and Trevenant decks, the deck just seems to find ways to win. It's a really good deck. To me, it's one of those decks that's easy to play, hard to master. So anyway, the next question I asked him was, which decks do you have the most trouble against loss to? In testing, my deck had a lot of trouble against Trevenant, so I was really afraid of seeing that matchup, but I was able to go 101 against Trev due to some tricky plays and a good deal of luck. And as a side note, I personally was ruling out Trevenant being too popular because I feel like a lot of masters are just ruling it out due to the fact that a lot of people just feel like it was inconsistent and just had a couple bad matchups against some of the decks that getting popular going into nationals. So back to what he's saying. So fortunately, I was able to escape that bad matchup. My 3 losses were against Night March Mirror, Liam Williams' Darkrai Giratina, and Paul Johnson's Waterbox. Night March Mirror is obviously a toss-up any day of the week, but I felt I knew how to play the matchup well, and running 2 Mews in my list helped me because it allowed me to switch between attackers very easily due to its retreat. It was very vital to be able to decide my attacker mid-turn and potentially attack with something that wasn't on my board during my opponent's turn. For example, it was really key to be able to drop Joltics to knock out Shamans while not having them down to return before it gets Sky Return. Next, Darkrai Giratina wasn't that horrible of a matchup in my opinion, but Liam played it very well, and the fact that he ran 2 Enhanced Hammer didn't help me much. Lastly, I sacrificed my Water Box matchup a lot by cutting Marowak from my list the night before, but I don't think that Marowak swung the matchup that much. I also felt this matchup was manageable because I could use Muse to Night March and then Sky Return, avoiding KOs by fighting Fury Belted Seismitoad. But against Pauls, I prized too many Night Marches to be able to knock out all my Night March attackers using Lysander. I'm sure now that is his favorite card. Haha. Other than that, I don't think I really had any bad matches besides Beswick and Vileplume, which I never saw. I didn't really see that much of it either. The format is really Night March centric, so I think every deck is meant to counter it to an extent, but practically infinite damaging non-EX attackers in a deck that can hit anything at any time can steal games against just about any deck. Yeah, it's really good. Very briefly go over each round and how you did against each matchup during day 1. Round 1, newer opponent getting back into the game playing Vesequin Tex. He didn't really get set up either game, and I drew pretty well, so I was able to take games 1 and 2 fairly easy despite having to deal with the Promo Jirachi. Round 2, played against the Greninja deck with a few Jirachi. This matchup is normally fairly tough, but fortunately game 1 I was able to get a few prizes ahead by picking off his only Hiroki in play, delaying him a turn. And then game 2 I was able to get ahead because he missed an energy to use Frogadier to fill his bench. Both games were still really close, but the prizes I got each game were pivotal. Yeah, at this point he's 2-0. Round 3, good friend of mine Ken playing Night March. I won this in game 2 because in game 1 he forced to put down too many Shamans and Joltics, so I could use Sky Return and Night March, or just swing the prize trade in my favor. In game 2 he just bricked, or didn't draw anything after a few turns. Always nice to escape a Night March mirror with a little luck. He's 3-0 now. Played against Omega Ray with Jolteon. Ugh. Game 1 he overbenches and I quickly Lysander up 3 Shamans to take the win with a little help from Target Whistle. Galea was prized at this game, so I wouldn't have had no way to deal with Jolteon EX. Game 2 I got a Galea out fairly quickly each, and he just had no response to that because I simply had non-EX and he just had no response to that because I simply had non-EXs one-shot all of his EXs. Okay. Round 5, Darkrai Giratina Garb, I think. I don't really remember this, but I think it was a Darkrai Giratina Garb that I was able to beat by just getting a lot of energies down early and Lysander Giratina before he could attack. I don't think he ran Enhanced Hammer, so that helped a lot. He's 5-0. Round 6, good friend Bob with Trevenant. Game 1 he went Wally, Trev, red card attach, and I conceded after drawing a hand of nothing. Game 2 was really close, and I was able to get a bunch of marchers down and get a bunch of marchers in the discard pile early and get a few prizes. Mid-late game I used Sky Return a lot to avoid KOs, and I fortunately drew Shaman plus DCE off all of his ANs and red cards. Then I think I made a tricky AZ play to win the game. Game 3 he went Shaman Pass and I was able to take it on turn. Oh. 1. Sucks, yeah, on turn 1. Sucks to be a friend like that, but these are the type of rounds you just have to appreciate and move on. Hashtag we take those, basically. He's 6-0 at this point. I want to take a timeout and say he's 6-0 right now in the tournament. And the U.S. Nationals, that's incredible. So props to him for getting that far in the tournament. I'm going to take... Sorry, I just need to take a quick sip of water, because talking that much will do that to you. Alright. Round 7, another Trevenant. Game 1 I started quickly and I miraculously was able to just knock out all of his guys with Night Marchers and a few Lysanders on Shamans. He never drew his burst balloon, so he just couldn't keep up with my attackers. Game 2 was long and drawn out, and he won in a close one despite beginning another very good start. Game 3 I thought I had a good shot at winning because I got a lot of Night Marches discarded early plus a turn 1 Glade, but time was called turn 1 and we just packed up our cards there. Still, he's 601, which is, you know, he just can't lose the next 2 games, it seems, pretty much. I probably would have just tied the last round or something like that. Played versus Metal on stream. I forgot, he doesn't actually say what stream, but probably should, you probably should be able to find it somewhere. I was really excited because this was the first time I ever played on stream, and fortunately everything went right. Game 1 I got turn 1 Glade and was able to quickly take 6 prizes on EXs within, and then Game 2 I pretty much did the same thing, however without a Glade and by hitting a big attack with a mute with a basic energy kill loaded Aegislash. Fortunately he never got a Fighting Fury built on an Aegislash because that's usually much tougher to deal with, though not unmanageable by any means. He played it well, but I ran hot as the sun, and this one came fairly easily. Round 9, the final round for day 1, against Liam Williams' Dark Red Giratina. After seeing a turn 1 Enhance Hammer, I knew this one would be rough. Fortunately, in Game 1 he prized his baby Volsol and wasn't able to set up 2 Giratinas at once, so was able to take this one with some well-timed Lysanders and energy drops. Game 2 he elected to go first, and I started Joltik and stupidly neglected to bench the Punkaboo in my hands despite knowing that he ran Latios. He opened Latios and easily donks to me. So I felt pretty dumb throwing away that game, but it is what it is. That stuff happens. Game 3 was really close, and it came down to him needing to hit a double dragon off to enter 3 to essentially lock me out of the game with Giratina. It wasn't that likely given that he had a few All Shamans and Ultra Balls in deck, but he hit it clean off the end to 3, which was painful. Oh well though, going into day 2 at 7-1-1 in the 3rd seed in my pod was nothing to be upset with. Oh hell yeah! Like in the final rounds, if I was him, I would probably play that out of the final round too, because you're set. You're 7-1-1. You lost. If I would have lost on round 8, I think I would have actually tied in round 9. But if I'm 7-0-1 going into the last round, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna play it out so I can get a much better shot of winning Nats. And I basically asked him just to go over it again with day 2. Rounds 1, 2, and 3 of day 2 were honestly a blur. 3 Night March Mirror. I remember hearing a lot of Night March baited in. Just hear that much is incredible. Round 1 lost game 1 after missing an energy Lysander off an N with 3 Shaman and a ton of useful trainers in deck, which was super painful. Game 2 I drew well, never really had to use Shaman, I just kept ahead on the prize trade. Game 3 I had the upper hand with my setup, we didn't get deep enough for me to be sure in time was called, so we just accepted the tie. Honestly, I don't remember much of it. All I know was that it was a pretty classic mirror games 1 and 2 where we each took a game. Game 3 he hexed me turn 1, and with the dead hand I was forced to bench a Shaman under the hex to avoid losing the next turn. I played time plus increased my odds of drawing out of it, but seeing 3 garbage cards and it was done for. No complaints, that's just how the mirror works, but I was a little demoralized at this point knowing that I had to win the next 4 to make the top 8. Which is entirely true because he at this point was 7-2-2. Which, yeah, meaning that you had to go basic 11-2-2 to make it in. Which means you could only have 4 bad matches, 4 bad games out of 16. Out of 16, 15 matches. Which is really crazy and difficult. You essentially just need 11 wins at least. All this talking is wearing me out a little. Round 2, honestly, wait, no, actually, just so I'll talk about. Round 3 I really don't remember either, but I'm pretty sure it was just another classic Night March mirror with me drawing better than him. 1-1-1 for the first 3 rounds of Night March mirror. Does it get more even than that? Haha. That is pretty cool. That is pretty crazy. So he's 8-2-2 for anyone trying to keep track. Round 4 I played on stream against Azul. It's kind of weird to be playing on stream not knowing what my opponent was playing. I'm sure my sigh of relief looked hilarious when I saw it was not viable after he flipped over Kobe and unknown Game 1. Game 1 I was able to knock out a Shaman early and just coast while leading the prize trade. His target whistle being prized didn't help him either. Game 2 he just dead drew and I was able to win in 2 or 3 turns. I'd also like to add that Gallade got Gallade out turn 1 in Game 1. For those of you who watched my 2 rounds on stream, I did not get Gallade out this much. I probably got the turn 1 20% of my games at most. I was just exceptionally lucky on stream because it's on stream. Round 5 was against Lance Bradshaw with his Miniature Garbs Tech. I actually saw that on stream. I've been trying to go back a little bit on streams and watch those. I knew this was a very good matchup because he really had no solution to Gallade. Game 1 I drew poorly at the beginning, but he unfortunately had to discard a lot of resources and was able to set up a Gallade and take 6 prizes over the following 3 turns by knocking out EXs. Game 2 I got another Gallade out and I repeated Game 1 only quicker. He played it very well, but if I'm lucky enough to get Gallade out in that matchup, there's just nothing he realistically can do. Not to mention, Night March just has a good Mega Miniature matchup in general, even without Gallade. Round 6 was the win and in, but I went in with a bad feeling I was surrounded by a very strong Night March counter decks. I ended up being against Paul Johnson's Waterbox. I was pretty sure he was too good to choke the favorable matchup, but I made my best effort. As I mentioned earlier, I prized too many Night Marches in the game, in games 1 and 2, which he brilliantly capitalized on to put me in a position where Court essentially could not do damage because of his rough seas. Oh well. I'm glad I didn't lose the win in on some crazy luck or a misplay or something. Congrats to Paul. It's definitely easier to lose to someone who deserved it to make top 8 than someone who's just been lucky. Also, shout out to Paul for making top 4 without playing against any Night March. A good matchup for him besides myself. I want to see if that's actually true. Because if that's true, that is actually really incredible. Definitely very difficult without seeing your good matchups a lot. And I congratulated him on getting 10-3-2 in top 16. Which, you know, winning 2/3 of winning 10 out of 15 games, it's still pretty hard to do. I mean, I went 2-3-2. I went 3-2. Not 3-2, but 2-3-2, and then dropped myself. So, congrats to him. He does definitely deserve that. So, and then I asked him, what changes? Are there any changes to the list you wish you made or didn't made before Nets? The night before, he said, the night before my list was -1 Mew plus 1 Merak. I think that was the only change I made, but I considered about a million other ones. I never work at this change, and I love this list exactly how it is. Playing this version of Night March, I wouldn't consider changing any of the cards in the current list. Final question. How many championship points did you have before the event, and how many do you have now that you made top 16? And I believe when you make, if you make top 16, you get 100 championship points. By the way, I think I had a few over 400 before the event, and now I have a few over 500. Kind of regret not going to more tournaments. Maybe I could have gotten day 2 if I went to a few more regionals and did well. Ha ha ha. And then once again, I just thanked him for his time on stream, his time. And he gave out his email, but I'm not going to reveal that. I think he just gave it to me. But yeah, that's pretty much that's the entire written interview, and that's actually like about 20 minutes long. So I definitely don't need to go into an actual match. But I'm going to very quickly go over a few things that are kind of not traditional. I wish if I had more time and if I was asking in person, I would have gotten over this. A couple of things that I thought was a little weird are the 2-dimension valley. only 2 Dimension Valley. I find it a little weird because most play 4, maybe 3, and only plays 1 Psychic Energy, only 1 Basic Energy, which sounds weird, and it seems a little just off to me. But he also plays an Unknown. I really wish I asked about the Unknown. Like, I just have no idea how he plays the Unknown. I really regret like not asking that. He only plays like one muscle band. He doesn't play anything else. His list is very unique. At least I think it's pretty unique from like some of the other stuff I've been seeing. And that's just I do like his list. It's pretty good. It's pretty solid. It obviously took him all the way to top 16, which is a very incredible feat. Feat nonetheless. He just needed to win his last matchup, and he would have actually made top 8, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, he did not win top 8. He did not win his win in, but nonetheless, he did extremely well, and once again, congrats to him for doing so well. Pretty much asked him everything I really wanted to ask him. I added a couple of deck choices, but thank you anyone who tuned in today for today's interview. Hope you guys liked today's video. Please like, subscribe for further content, and if you know anyone out there who would actually like doing would like to do an interview who made top 8 at any nationals, and if you know anyone who made top 128 at U.S. nationals for the Masters division, please let me know. I also interview people who did well in the seniors and juniors division, and about top 4, of course, with parents' permission, of course, because legal reasons. Anyway, again, on 715 the Dragon Tim here. Please like, subscribe, share this, do all of that fun stuff, and I shall see you guys hopefully next time.